Hey, what's going on, everybody? Once again, my name is Ben. I run Loop Software and Testing Services. We do a lot with Playwright automation, manual testing, etc. Today, I just wanted to quickly talk about the Shadow DOM, more specifically, in this case, Shadow Root closed, Shadow Root open. For those of you who don't know the Shadow DOM, I'm not a technical expert in it. Google it, but it's essentially my understanding. Well, here, let's Google the definition of Shadow DOM. What is the Shadow DOM? Shadow DOM, hidden DOM tree to be attached to elements in regular DOM trees. Basically starts with the shadow root, allows component to have its own shadow tree. For the most part, I would say it's really just dynamic data seems to be put in the Shadow DOM that isn't necessarily wanting to put in the normal DOM. The most sort of specific example I could say is if you have like a fill step and you are filling in a field and you type into it, sometimes you can't interact then with it. That's going to be in the Shadow DOM. And actually, that's kind of the use case I wanted to most specifically talk about. So to kind of restate what I just said, let's say you have a fill. You're going to click on a field, right? That's great. That's perfect. It works. You type in your first name, in this case, Ben. Then you go and you write your expect statement to say, I expect this field to contain Ben. Well, that doesn't work. And you're like, okay, well, that's weird. So then you go to the DOM, right? We're going to, in this case, we're going to right click, inspect. And what you're going to see is that actually in that case, Ben won't show up. And even if you try to, find it in the DOM, it won't show up. Eventually, though, what you're going to do is you're going to click on the settings of your DOM, and you're going to toggle on your Shadow DOM. So in this case, you're going to have element show user at agent Shadow DOM. We're going to toggle this on, and then you go back to your DOM, and it will be there. And you'll see something just like this. I just have an example. I don't have an example that's not protected by an NDA. So unfortunately, we're going to work on just this. And you'll see either Shadow Root open or Shadow Root closed. The majority of the time I see Shadow Root, it's closed. I think here's an example right here. It says Shadow Root closed, right? And this is going to be the most common example. The problem with Playwright is if you see Shadow Root closed, you won't be able to interact with it. That's the sort of unfortunate nature of it. It's in the closed Shadow DOM. Playwright's very good at interacting with the open Shadow DOM, but it's in the closed Shadow DOM. So the first things first is to identify where your sort of content went, and it's pretty easy, right? You just go back to your settings, you turn on the Shadow DOM, and you'll be able to find it within the Shadow DOM. The second is to figure out, is it open or closed? Now, if it's closed, your number one option is go talk to your developer and tell them please not use closed Shadow DOMs. But let's assume that for some reason you can't get that to happen. The next most sort of effective, let's say, example is going to be visual-based regression testing of that field. It's not great at scale, so this is sort of if you're in a pinch, but how we would handle this is you can take a screenshot of a specific locator with Playwright, which is awesome. So in this case, you have this locator. You're going to go to the URL. You have the locator. And then you're going to expect it to have a screenshot. And we're just taking the screenshot of this image. In this Shadow DOM component, you would just take a screenshot of the sort of first name field or whatever field contains that element in the Shadow DOM. And then your test case, rather than necessarily expect the field to contain, you would basically expect the field to match the screenshot that matches, right? So in this case, you would say, here, take the screenshot and then expect the locator to match the screenshot, essentially. So that is how to both identify content in the Shadow DOM, go to your network settings, or excuse me, go to your inspect, and then go to your settings, turn on that Shadow, what was the specific language? Shadow, show user agent Shadow DOM. Once you've figured out that it's a closed Shadow DOM, go ahead and use visual-based regression testing, take a screenshot of the element, and compare. So talk soon. Appreciate it.